Hello, everyone. My name is Paul. I use he pronouns. I'm in the Office of Transfer Student Success, and I'm going to try not to talk very much because the point is to hear from people who are doing undergraduate research. And so kind of just a quick rundown of the format. Well, we're really lucky. We have Sandra in the Office of Undergraduate Research. She does advising, so you have a chance to hear from advising perspective. We have Cameron, who is a transfer student. She's also a president of the Crimson Transfer Honor Society in the past. She's done a ton of undergraduate research. And then Dr. Bruce Gale, who is a professor who's worked with a transfer student doing undergraduate research. So really hope that the chance to hear from a staff person, a student perspective, and then a faculty perspective will really help. So I will pass it on to Sandra to get started, not get it hot on this thing right here.
Are we? Oh, you're sharing the screen already. Cool. Hey, everyone. I'm Sandra. Really nice to meet you. I work as an advisor in the Office of Undergrad Research, and I know everyone here wants to learn more about research and what the experience is like. So I wanted to share a little bit more about our office and what we do and the kind of resources we have for when you are involved with research. Go next page. Okay, so this is an overview of our office. We have some really awesome staff as well as undergraduate leaders to reach out to if at any point you need any kind of advising or support, or you just want to talk through what our office does and figure out how to utilize everything that you have access to. So I don't think I need to give a spiel about why research matters if you're here to learn more about how to get involved with research, but whether you're here because it's a requirement for you or you just want to learn a little bit more about how you can figure out like what you might want to do after your undergrad career, research is just a really great way to take what you're learning in your classrooms and apply it in a more hands-on experience. And our office does a variety of things, but some of the really big services that our office has to offer is funding, grants, and scholarships just to support the work that you are doing as an undergrad researcher. A lot of times the work that you'll be doing tends to be volunteer basis, and so our office is here to help fund your experiences so that you do get to utilize and take advantage of your research experience as an undergrad. The biggest program our office has is called UROP, and so we pay students a $1,200 stipend over the course of a semester to do research work. And this can be for any kind of research work, any kind of creative project you're doing, and you can get funding for 2 semesters. Really awesome program to utilize, and there's a lot of great opportunities to connect with other undergrad researchers as well, and really get to know your mentor on a more like one-on-one basis. And the next big program our office is known for is SPUR. And so a lot of times students will do research during fall and spring, but if for whatever reason, like your classes, you have way too many classes, you're like, there's just too much going on, the summer is actually a really great time to get plugged in to research as well. And so our office has a summer program that's kind of like a full-time job over the course of a semester, and you get to do a lot of hands-on research work. And SPUR is just one of the programs at the U. There are plenty of other summer research programs at the university that you could apply for and look into, and it's just a really awesome way to spend your summers seeing if research is what you like to do, especially if you don't have that time during the normal academic school year. We also have travel and small grants that students can apply for from our office. And so if you get accepted to go to a conference with your mentor, we have funding to help cover like airfare, lodging, things like that. But if you also need research supplies for whatever kind of project you're working on, there's definitely funding from our office that you can utilize so that you're not paying for things out of your own pockets. And so I would highly encourage you to look into any of these sources of funding if at any point you need them while you're doing research at the U. Our office also has scholarships. And so since students can only do UROP twice, and you might be doing research way longer than 2 semesters, our office has scholarships that students can apply for. Is it working? Okay, cool. That students can apply for beyond the 2 semesters of UROP. And the really fun part of doing research is being able to share your research work and really build your skills as a researcher. So every semester, our office has a symposium event, and it's a way for you to practice your presentation skills and really figure out how to communicate your research to the general public, especially people who aren't in your industry. And public speaking is really difficult, and this is just a really awesome way to practice that skill and be able to share all of the awesome work that you've been doing on your research project. We also have these education series events and workshops, and so these workshops are designed to just help you build your skill set, and we have things like how to write an abstract, how to write how to ask for a letter of recommendation, things like that would be really helpful in not only your research career now, but also thinking about what you might want to do in the future and how you might want to translate the experience you're gaining through undergrad research into grad school, industry, whatever else you might want to do after undergraduate. And a really big thing and very exciting thing for us this spring is that the University of Utah is hosting the Utah Conference on Undergraduate Research. And so institutions from all across Utah will be coming to the U in the spring. Really awesome way to share your research work if anyone ends up presenting this spring. But if not, definitely come by, and it's a really awesome way to see what other students are doing and kind of see what you could get involved with as an undergrad student as well. And so this is a pretty big event coming in the spring, and it'll be a really exciting one to check out. And our office does a lot of advising and support. So like if you're interested in applying for any funding from our office, if you are working on a research project that requires IRB approval, so like things that you could use more support and advice on, feel free to come to our office. We have staff who can help you out with anything, but we also have really awesome undergraduate research leaders who are undergraduate students that have been really involved with research at the U, and they could definitely help you figure out where to get plugged into, how to get started. And we also had one undergraduate research leader whose lab was looking for students to join. And so that could be another way to figure out and get connected to a lab is just by talking with other students, especially the ones who work with our office. And the really fun part about doing research is that we want to recognize all of your accomplishments and all of the really hard work that you have done. So each spring we have an award ceremony, and it's just a way for each college to like nominate an outstanding undergraduate researcher. Really cool way for us to highlight all of the awesome work that students are doing. We also have this undergraduate research scholar designation. So for anyone who is interested in going to grad school, med school, something like that, this is an undergraduate research scholar distinction that goes on your official academic transcript. Really awesome way to help make you stand out as an applicant. And it's a nice little addition to kind of just highlight all of the undergraduate research you've been doing at the U. And we also have a prize that students can apply for. It's like a $1,200 scholarship. So lots of sources of funding and support from our office. And we also have this undergraduate research journal where students can share their work. And it's just a really nice thing to look through and see what other students at the U have been involved with. Really awesome database of all of the work that have happened at the University of Utah. And this is a little bit more about how you can connect with our office, ways to reach out to us. That was a really quick spiel, and I like threw a lot of information about our office. So at any point, like you want to talk a little bit more in depth about this, feel free to come to us. I know a lot of people probably want to hear more about like your research experiences and how to get involved with research. So we are here to help support you. And with that, I will turn the time over to Cameron.
Awesome, thanks.
And then, you wanna introduce yourself and talk about your experience as a transfer student doing undergraduate?
There it goes. All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. My name is Cameron Mercer. I graduated with my degree in biology and a chemistry minor in May, and I did undergraduate research in Dr. Gale's lab with one of his PhD students for a year and a half, almost 2 years. And I did UROP for a couple semesters. I presented at the National Conference of Undergraduate Research, the Utah Conference for Undergraduate Research, and Research on Capitol Hill, which was a really cool experience, which is where I think about 50 students from the U and 50 students from Utah State were selected from a pool of applicants to go up to the state capitol and present our research in the rotunda and talk to legislators about what we were doing. So that was really interesting. And I guess,
So, yeah, just for the next question, what do you wish you knew more about undergraduate research when you transferred?
I wish that I knew that there were other scholarships besides UROP because I applied for UROP one semester and then I put it off another semester because I was like, oh, I can only get 2 of funding and I know I'm going to keep doing this. So I'll just wait to do UROP until my last semester at the U. And then as I was applying my last semester, I was like, wait, I could have got more money. So those other scholarships are available. And I wish I knew sooner about all of the research opportunities. So like I said, I was a biology major and Dr. Gale is in the engineering department. So you don't have to do research in the department that you're studying under. And I think that was a really amazing opportunity because I learned so much about, you know, things that I never would have ever been exposed to if I stayed within biology. So keep your eyes peeled for any opportunity. If you have any skills that you think could be applicable with another professor's lab, don't be afraid to reach out to them. And I was totally honest when I reached out to Dr. Gale. I was like, hey, I'm not an engineer at all, but I have this biology and like this chemistry lab experience. Is there any work that you might have for me? And we figured something out. So.
And then can you say a little bit more about the process of actually setting up and like how did you reach out and actually what was the process like to become like an undergraduate researcher? Sure.
So when I was like in the middle of my undergrad, after I transferred to the U, I came from a really tiny school with not that many opportunities. So I like definitely felt overwhelmed when I first got here. But once I kind of got my footing, I came to something like this. It was another research, I don't know, panel where somebody, I think from the Office of Undergraduate Research was talking to us. And they gave us advice on how to reach out to professors. So I took that. And I had tried reaching out to professors before and it didn't work. But once I came to one of these, then I finally got into a lab. So I reached out, tried to be really professional. I just explained my experience, what I was looking for. It's good to maybe mention how much time that you have to put in, just anything, any skills that you have, any labs that you've taken, or even like, I don't know, software that you know how to work that might be useful in research. Just describe why you want to do research and just show that you've made an effort into looking at what their lab does and that you're not, you know, copy pasting an email to 50 people. You want it to be tailored. And I also went on the Office of Undergraduate Research's, on their website, there was a list of professors who were looking for undergraduates. And I think it might have been outdated, possibly because this was in the middle of the pandemic, but I just went off that because I saw, okay, these people were looking for undergrads in the past, so they might be looking for them now as well. And so I emailed all of that to Dr. Gale. And then I waited a few weeks and then I emailed him again. That's what you're supposed to do, is always email twice. And then I got a response, and that's how we move forward from there.
Awesome, thank you for saying that. What have you learned about yourself from the experience of doing undergraduate research?
I've definitely learned that I'm a lot smarter than I thought I was. I guess growing up, like, I remember even being told by my dad that, like, oh, my brother's gonna go on to invent something and be really successful, and that I was gonna have like a happy family. So I never really applied myself in high school even. And I remember, like, even in math class in high school, just being like, oh, like, I'm just never gonna get this, and not really having like a growth mindset. I was definitely in like a fixed mindset. And there were a couple classes that I took at the beginning of my time at the U that helped me realize, like, oh, I can do math, or like, I can do this. But also doing research, I really realized that I didn't have to be limited to just one thing in life, and that there are so many opportunities that if whatever you put in is what you'll get out. So it takes a lot of work, but it's really rewarding.
And then, did you see any drawbacks to doing undergraduate research?
I think there aren't any drawbacks to doing research itself, because that is a self-development thing, or an experience where you're always learning and meeting people and growing, I think. But drawbacks, I guess, you just have to make sure that you are working with a lab that meets your needs as well, and that fits your schedule, and that you feel like you're growing into.
And then, for the last question for this part, and we will have a Q&A at the end, is, would you recommend undergraduate research for transfer students, and if so, why?
I would definitely recommend research for transfer students, because I think coming in to a new school, not knowing where, I mean, you don't get the same experience as freshmen do when you're coming in halfway through your college career, or however long. And so I think by doing research, you're really putting yourself in a position to be exposed to new people. And I would also recommend, like, just talking to peers who you know are doing research and getting their advice, because they might know of a professor or somebody that has an opening. And so definitely just try to talk to as many people as possible, and don't be afraid to put your foot through the door, kind of force yourself into situations sometimes. So,
Thanks. And
yeah.
then we'll move on, and you and if you could start by introducing yourself and your lab and some of the research you do.
Sure. And my name is Bruce Gale. I'm a professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. I do primarily research in what we call microfluidics. These are little tiny fluid channels for medical applications. We do a lot of work with cells, and we'll just call it general biology, or maybe, we do things like detect bacteria or separate sperm cells for fertility, or Cameron was working on a lung on a chip, so this kind of artificial lung that you could use to find new drugs, or how the COVID virus, attaches to lung cells. Anyways, those sorts of things. So we have a variety of different students in our lab. I mean, I have a number of mechanical engineers, but I also have biomedical engineering students. I have electrical engineering students. I have chemistry students, biology students, material science. anyways, we love to have a little bit of everything in our lab. And the nice part about that is they can all work together. And just maybe as a side note on that, the cutting edge areas of research tend to be ones that are at the boundaries. So, you know, biology with engineering, or chemistry with social science, or, you know, those sorts of things are going to have really unique opportunities for research. And so I've been here at the University of Utah for a little over almost 21 years now, and have been able to work with a lot of undergraduate students. I try to keep a list. I'm probably not entirely accurate, but it's more than 50 students that have worked in my lab as undergraduate students at some point. And, you know, some of them do a lot, some of them do a little, some of them go on to, you know, do PhDs, and some of them, you know, probably never do research again. So there's a wide variety of, you know, interest and effort that students put in. But that, anyways, you know, that's my background, I guess. So.
Thank you so much. So one of the first questions I want to ask is, from a professor or faculty member perspective, do you have any tips for students who want to do undergraduate research about how to reach out to them?
Yeah, so there's definitely some things to do, and maybe the first one is what Cameron pointed out, is be persistent. It actually really helps. I mean, most professors are fairly busy. They have a lot of things going on. When Cameron, I don't recall exactly when Cameron reached out to me, but it used to be before the pandemic, I would get an email probably one a week or something like that from an undergraduate student interested in research. And so that sometimes meant that I was not as good at responding to some of them. Ironically, just as maybe as a side note too, the number of requests that I've been getting is way down, meaning like hardly anybody is reaching out to me. And that used to just happen all the time. And I think that's caused by the current economic environment and things like that. People can, I don't know, maybe get different types of jobs or something like that. So I don't want to put that as a, hey, there's your better alternative, but I would suggest that if you're looking for a research opportunity, this is a great time to do it, because I got 10 projects I could put you on right now, right? That sort of thing. So we have all kinds of help that we need from undergraduate researchers. And I suspect that that's also the case. Whereas, you know, 2 or 3 years ago, it was like, oh, I got plenty, you know, I'm not sure if I can, you know, handle some more at this time. So that's, anyways, this is a good time to be looking into research. So when you reach out to me, I think it really does help to know a little bit about what I do. So I think if you want to get my attention, you would say something effective. Hey, you know, Dr. Gale, I know that you do research in microfluidics, and I have an interest in that field, and maybe do something to explain how that interest and anyways, how that interest fits what you're trying to do. That does help me to feel like that I'm not just a cut and paste on an email, right? And that you are indeed interested in, you know, in working in my lab. And so that, you know, that just something that personalizes it probably is going to make a difference. And along with that, you should really look for things that you want to do. Now it's pretty clear. And as I've gone through life, I've realized I don't always know what I really want to do. So you have to be a little bit careful with that. Meaning, you know, if you try something new, you might realize, oh, I really enjoy this. And I think Cameron's maybe a good example of that. I'm guessing she applied for biology opportunities and maybe didn't get so many of those, but there's actually quite a few other fields that maybe there's some opportunities in that are parallel or similar to what you're working in. So that, anyways, you can be open-minded, and I wouldn't even be afraid to, if you send an email, you know, if you send it to me and said, I'm looking for things in this field, if for any reason, maybe you can't, you know, help me, is there someone you would recommend? I'd probably say, oh, you might want to talk to these 2 or 3 professors, because I know what they're doing and it's in your area. So don't be afraid to ask for a referral. that may also be helpful. And I actually, Cameron's suggestion to talk to your friends is actually a really good one as well, or to find out, who's doing research, or to talk to graduate students, or I don't know, anyone else that you come in contact with that's doing research. They can give you a sense of also what it's like to work in various labs. Not all labs are the same. For example, my lab is very much experimental. We do a lot of experiments. We're always building something, or designing something, or growing cells, or testing some physical thing. Whereas some labs, all they do is work on computers all day. So they may do simulations, or writing code, or doing surveys, or whatever sort of kind of computer work you could do that may even be able to be done remotely. But my lab, you got to be there physically, and you've got to do the experiments. So depending on what you're interested in, that there may be different directions you want to go. And then as you're thinking about what you want to do, I think it's important to understand why you're doing research. What are you trying to get out of this? Maybe you're just trying to get a new experience, and that's fine. But I know that I'm guessing that 80 or 90% of the students that come to me wanting to do research have a very specific thing they're trying to accomplish. And a lot of times that's, I'm going to go to med school, and I want to have research on my my CV, and I want to have a letter of recommendation from a faculty member at some point. And all of those things can happen. And it doesn't hurt to kind of, bring that up early on in the conversation with your professors, as they can help you get the experience that you need and that you want. But yeah, understand what you're trying to accomplish. And if your goal is to go to graduate school and to kind of get an early start on research, then by all means, I would encourage that. One of the great opportunities at the University of Utah is that we have just outstanding research everywhere. It's all over the place. And you can find, something that will fit you, I think, in a reasonably, anyways, in a good environment. That's not always something that you can get at any university or any school. And the University of Utah just has opportunities that you're not going to find at a lot of other schools here in Utah. So take advantage of that. And then one of the things to just kind of think about is, Cameron mentioned how much time do you have? That's actually a really important question to me. So not to be selfish, but if it takes me more time to teach you and to help you than you're going to give back to me, I probably not going to be that interested, just to be fair about that. And usually that number is at least, I want to say 8 hours a week or something like that. If you start to get below 5, the effort that we have to put in to kind of get you trained up and to do stuff, because again, we're experimentalists, is more than we're going to get back from you. And, I do believe in education, but I can also spend my time on helping students that are going to also help my research lab. So just maybe think, what is my professor going to get out of this, and how are they going to, how can I help them to be successful? Actually, I can promise you, if you'll think that way, you will go very far, right?
In anything.
Yeah, in anything. If you can think about, what does my professor need, and how does, or he or she need, and how can I help them to get what they want or what they need to do? I will, if you came to me and said, I know that you want to write some papers and you're trying to, anyways, achieve something in this area, and I want to be involved with that. Wow, I'll get you in and we'll get you going right away. So that's, anyways, it's always helpful to think about how you can be a support, and hopefully those things align. At that point, hopefully my goals and your goals will align and we'll help each other. There's some of the things to think about are just maybe what your skill level is. Cameron, for example, came to us, and we're a mechanical engineering lab. She could have easily been intimidated and said, I don't have anything to offer to a mechanical engineering lab. I mean, she might have said that in her head. And obviously it's not true, right? But she did offer what she could do. And, maybe I'm one of those professors that doesn't need biology and chemistry, but guess what? I actually need a lot of biology and chemistry and things like that. And I don't get that many people from biology and chemistry that offer, if you will, to come and work with us. And so that's really a great help. So even though, Cameron, I'm probably not going to assign her to be in charge of building certain things or designing certain things. But yeah, we've got to grow some cells over here, and we've got to come up with some designs that will allow, this biological process to happen. And you can help with that. Now, you also need to recognize where you are on the skill level thing. You may have been working, maybe you have almost a degree in biology, but that, I'm gonna argue that's the beginning, that's not the end, right? So a lot of times when I have students come in to work in my lab, the very first thing we'll do is we'll assign them to work on something that's, I'm gonna call it relatively simple, right? We'll give you something to start with, and if you can do that well, then we'll kind of work your way up the food chain until maybe you have your own project. I've had undergraduate students that are running their own projects, and they can be as good or better than the graduate students. So that's super fun to see and to work with. It's really neat. So, but recognize you're probably not going to be thrown your own project to start. Now, I've had students that walk into my office and say, I have this project that I would like to do. And they seem very motivated. And there have been times when I've said, sure, let's do that project if it fits well with what I'm trying to do. Now, keep in mind, you can't do research if you can't pay for it. And you got to have supplies and equipment and all sorts of things like that. Maybe it's just a computer thing, and that doesn't require anything special that way. But in my lab, if you come with an idea, it may or may not work, right? We may be able to adapt it or we may not. But don't be afraid to have your own ideas, and don't be afraid to suggest them. I like to think I'm really smart and all of those things, but my students come with great ideas all the time, and they make me better. They make our labs better. We get a lot more done, a lot of innovative things done because they speak up and make suggestions and say, hey, this is what we could do. And so don't be afraid to do that, but just recognize that you're starting at the entry level, right? This is kind of a beginning level researcher. And so sometimes the things you'll start with are going to be simple, and you may need to just learn how to do that well, and then you can work your way up the process. The other thing to keep in mind, there are opportunities to get paid to do research, right? There's these UROP fellowships. Many faculty will actually have money to pay undergraduates to do research, but who's going to get paid? And who's going to get paid more than UROP pays? Well, the ones that they already know can do good research, right? So it's very rare that I hire someone right off the street to jump into my undergraduate research positions. Usually I already have some kind of relationship with those individuals. And for example, someone like Cameron, if they were working in my lab and had been there for a year, they'd be first choice to get these paid positions. So take the opportunity to build relationships, and don't be afraid to ask if there are opportunities that for paid positions. As I mentioned, a couple of years ago, I had, I might have 5 or 6 volunteers working in my lab at any one time. And then, some of those would move into what I would call a paid position. But if you can and you're able to, start with a volunteer sort of situation. But like I mentioned, right now, if you came to me, I'd pay you because I just need some people, right? So we're happy to take that. But one of the important parts that goes with that is you just need to be realistic in your commitment. So Cameron talked about the time. Sometimes students say, oh, I can do 10 hours a week, but they can't, right? And there's nothing that'll frustrate me and you faster than not doing what you say you are going to do. So that usually will work out pretty poorly. So be very realistic. If you're stretching to get to 10 hours a week, I mean, if you're taking, 15 credits and you got a part-time job, and then you say, oh, I can volunteer 10 hours a week, maybe not, right? That may not actually work very well. Some people can do it, but it's also can be very difficult. And then, suddenly you got a big project and you can't come in that week, and now all of your cells died because you didn't show up. doesn't go well. Anyways, that's the sort of problem that we can run into. So just be realistic and understand what if you're going to tell me you're going to do something, we're going to trust you that you can do something, and then yeah, make sure it happens, I guess. So but those are things that maybe to think about as you're coming in. And I guess maybe one other thing, when you come into, a lot of times there's an email sort of process that you go through to come in, and then you'll usually have some sort of interview. Different faculty members do these interviews differently. I've had, I'm happy to just find out what you want to do and give you a try. I'm not, one of those really mean interviewers, but I also know there's some faculty that have a pretty serious process. In fact, I remember talking to one, they just do some simple things, like they'd send an email to the person and say, bring me your resume and a blue pen or a red pen or something like that. And all they're checking to see is, can you follow instructions when you show up to an interview? I mean, just, you may not, anyways, read that email when you're coming in for the interview and make sure you did whatever was requested there, those sorts of things, because it's just a really, if you can't show up with a red pen and you say, well, I couldn't find one, well, clearly you're not very creative or not very aggressive or whatever, right? We're done, sort of thing. Or, oh, I totally forgot. Well, okay, that's not good either. Or, anyways, just those are kind of simple things that'll help you if you come prepared and ready to work. But don't be afraid to also say, this is what I can do and here's how I can help you, because that's gonna help me to figure out where to put you. And also, if you know, the more you know about the faculty member you're working with, the more you can do. So I don't remember exactly how our conversation went with Cameron came in, but usually it's something like this. Well, I do this project and this project and this project and this project. Which one are you interested in? Or sometimes it's like, I've got this project. Is that interesting to you? So, but usually I try to give students a choice. Here's 4 or 5 things I do. Which one sounds most interesting? But anyways, that's a little bit rambling all over the place, but yeah. What other questions do we have?
I think I appreciate some of all the information for students. I don't know that you would know the needs of staff without hearing from students. So one thing I wanted to point out is for the way this is set up, because we're looking at transfer students, a lot of them are junior level, but they're also new students to university. And so I know it's kind of a unique situation, and so like trying to, for me, I want to make sure people don't feel like to talk about that. But any advice for students in that situation, they have some experience already, but they're kind of new to the university, in addition to it. So.
Yeah, I guess my first point would be, I don't care, right? Just, I don't care if you're new to the university, have confidence, walk into my office knowing that you're interested and, you can do good work. There's a reason you're at the University of Utah. There's a reason you're a junior. You've been successful, and, take the opportunity to jump in and dive in. Most of the faculty are interested in helping students find good research experiences. So know that we're here to help you. We're not trying to cause you problems or something like that. Now, as Cameron pointed out, sometimes you got to get a hook. You don't always get a response, but yeah, be persistent. So but there's nothing that makes you a second-class citizen because you are a transfer student.
Yeah, so I think when they take the last part, but usually there's a lot of questions for people in person or want to write in a chat over Zoom, some questions. I think that'll be some of the most useful remaining of the time. So this is a great opportunity. We have faculty, we have students, we have undergraduate research, Office of Undergraduate Research staff. So don't lose this opportunity to ask a bunch of no pressure. And then if anyone wants to ask questions, let's go. The question is about online students. If you're an online student, how might that change? and then anyone can answer.
Maybe I can just start real quick. From a professor standpoint, you're probably going to want to find someone that doesn't do experiments, because unless you're willing to come in, you'd have a hard time working in my lab. But half of our faculty in mechanical engineering, they're doing simulations and things like that. They'd be happy to get involved with someone like that. And in fact, some of their students basically work remotely anyways. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say it really depends on the kind of work that you want to do. In terms of our office's programming services, resources, you are more than welcome to still access them. But on the research side, it really does depend on what kind of work you want to do and what work that professor is able to allow you to do remotely. So things like data analysis or anything with computer work, those are things that can be done remotely, literature review, things like that. But like if you are running experiments, those are things that you would have to be in person for. So it really does depend on what you're interested in, what kind of work you want to do research-wise.
Can I add something? One of my good friends, she did most of her research online. She was working with gender-based violence or against that. And she did a lot with data analysis and advertising, which was pretty interesting. So she basically did campaigns against that online. So it doesn't have to be like STEM either. It can be more social studies, things like that, or statistics. Let's see, any other questions?
Does anyone want to say what kind of research they're interested in?
So coming in as a chemistry student, but my major is commerce psychology, and through like honors college after a thesis semester, and through the psychology major, it's required research. So I got my friend board, and I was gonna start research, but it was kind of like a last minute thing, and I was like scrambling to understand like what research was in the first place, right? Being a first gen student, but also. Yeah, just in general, I didn't realize it was like a requirement, and the moment I started my major, they were like, oh, like you have to do it like now, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what this is, but yeah, that's what I'm.
maybe just make a comment on that real
Yeah.
quick. So when I was an undergrad, I didn't even know undergrad research existed, right? So I went to a university where I could have done it, but I just took classes and graduated, and I really regret that I kind of missed some of those. So I'm glad that maybe this is you've taken some steps to make that a requirement. But yeah, I think sometimes if you'll just grab a faculty member and one of your favorite teachers from one of your classes, and they're happy to help with those sorts of things too. If someone came to me and said, hey, can you help me with this? I'd be all over it.
So like for my research, I want to do research on like lights and how lights, like different frequencies of lights affect mental health and like essentially a lot of like psychiatric disorders and like depression and anxiety, and I want to like do research on that. So I'm like wondering if it's kind of something that spans like multiple majors, what would be the best like route, I guess, to do the research with it? Would it just be to like go to one the like professors and essentially just like say what it is you want to do? If they're like lab kind of matches what you're interested in?
I think that's gonna be your best bet, is just finding someone whose expertise within the general overarching thing of what you want to do. Like it doesn't have to match exactly, but someone who does have knowledge around how to conduct research with your topic. Like for example, when you're saying how lights affect like people, I know that one of our undergraduate research leaders that we've worked with, he looked a lot at how the environment affects people's moods, how that like contributed, how that helped with anxiety, mental health, stuff like that. And so I think if you find a professor who's doing work that's relevant, then that is the best way to get started, even if it's not the exact thing you want to do.
Also, just to clarify, there are two kind of types of research as well. You can either work with a graduate student and help them with what they're already doing, or you can do your own project and have it be more self-led, and that is a more guaranteed way to get, I think, publications, because if you're working with a graduate student, there isn't a guarantee that your name will end up on a paper either. Unless you're with the lab for a long time, then your chances increase. Because papers do take a long time too, so.
Any other questions? So we have about, between your person and virtual, like about 20 people, so. Who are all interested in undergraduate research, so don't be shy. And I should mention, the find a researcher, if you search University of Find a Researcher, you can put in a keyword. And that'll help you to pull out faculty, who do that research based on kind of looking at kind of what their publications are. Sandra knows much more than. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool database. So oftentimes the students might search by department, like looking within their major to see which faculty are doing what kind of research projects. And so this is a really cool way if you want to search by keyword, like if you're interested in doing research around like the environment, you type in that keyword and it'll pull information from all across University of Utah faculty and grad students who are doing research related to this particular topic. And so it's a really great way to see and start to look up like which professors are doing research that you would be interested in getting involved with and like reach out to them this way too. Here, I'll put the link in the chat.
Thanks for sharing that with them. Any other questions, particularly from Zoom? They can hear me. Do you want to repeat that?
Oh yeah, Paula's asking if anyone else had any questions. I'll drop my email in here in case anyone does come up with questions and want to email me. But I know it's like a gloomy day, so I feel like people are everybody's mood is matching the weather outside.
I can also, I'll put my email in the chat here and you all are welcome to write it down. If you have any questions or like, I guess just want any advice on research. I was pre-med, I'm not anymore, but I did like all the pre-med stuff except take the MCAT and apply to med school. So if anybody has any questions on like any of those types of like volunteering or anything, like I've been through it all. So I'm also more than happy to help. I'd give advice on any of those other topics too, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would be plenty interested in having the PowerPoint too, if you could send that to me.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if anyone else is interested, but
Yes, I can share it. Sandra sent it to me already, and then if there are any links or things you want to make send to me, I can share it. I know that there's some deadlines coming up where you can start applying for Right Spur and undergraduate research. So we'll put in the deadlines as well. I had made it so everyone has to log in to the Zoom, so I'll have your contact info. But you're always welcome to just email me if you're like, I'm not sure if I got your contact info. But yes, we can definitely send that out. I'll have a list of everyone who attended today, so we can send that out to you all of you. And then if you get less shy, you can email us. Yeah. So any last questions before we turn the timer? But I just want to thank everyone. It was really helpful, really great information. I did undergraduate research when I was undergrad. It was very helpful, and I always learn new things too. I was like, I could have done this as well. So really, like Dr. Gale said, it's a great opportunity. Don't let it pass you by. Last thoughts, and then, so thank you so much. Well, everyone are very, very much. And then, Christina, who is our, one of the officers for the Crimson Transfer Honor Society, is available if anyone has questions about Crimson Transfer Honor Society. And, Cameron was president, so it'd be a great, and during COVID, which I didn't see you in person.
No, we didn't meet until after.
So, Christina, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name's Christina Holzer, and like Paul mentioned, I'm one of the officers for the Crimson Transfer Honor Society, or we like to call CTHS for short. For those who don't know much about it, CTHS is an honor society that recognizes the academic excellence for transfer students in your first 12 credit hours here at the U. And we offer service opportunities as well as scholarships, leadership, and enhancing network and social opportunities for you. So it'd be really beneficial for you if you're a transfer student and you want to have something on your resume and also to get more networking opportunities or service opportunities as well. In these transfer workshops, attending 2 of them is a requirement to be a part of the Honor Society. So it's good to see a lot of people coming to these. These are really beneficial. It's helped me a lot as a transfer student myself. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, please let Paul or myself know. I'm going to leave my email in the chat too, if that's all right. And you can email me with any questions you have. And we do have a website on the undergraduate Office of Undergraduate Studies website, and it has more information there as well if you want to look that up. But there's my email in case anybody's wanting that. So yeah, if anyone has any questions right now, I'm more than happy to answer anything, anyone in person or on Zoom.
Yes.
Can you briefly just go over the requirements?
So Christine, the question was the requirements for CTHS.
Okay, so the requirements is 1, to be a transfer student and to earn at least a 3.5 GPA in your first 12 credit hours. And that can be in 1 semester. So if you take 12 credit hours in 1 semester, or it can be split between 2. So if you're part-time over 2 semesters, it just has to be the first 12. And then you have to attend at least 2 transfer workshops. So 2 of these workshops that you're at right now, and then pay a one-time $50 membership fee. And 100% of that fee goes towards scholarships that we offer for students. All right. Any other questions or anything?
I had a question. I hope this makes sense, but are there any research opportunities that are like only provided for members of the Crimson Society, the Honor Society?
No.
No, you go ahead, Paul.
So no specific research opportunities, though. I think kind of Cameron's point about talking to your friends. I think one of the things that I've seen out of kind of the workshops, as well as members of CTHS, a lot of students go to grad school, a lot of students do undergraduate research. So nothing directly, but I do think it helps kind of be in a kind of a community of students who are doing really similar things. And so just for example, sorry, I'm picking on Cameron too much, but she was the president of CTHS and very involved in undergraduate research. And I know many other students who were in CTHS who did undergraduate research. So I think it's more of like kind of fostering community to kind of build toward those connections and opportunities. I do think, I know it's kind of cheesy, but I do think it's life-changing for me. I did undergraduate research without really knowing a ton. And I ended up deciding to go to grad school, and that was really a factor that helped me get into graduate school, was that I had done undergraduate research. So that I know, I was like, well, if I hadn't done undergraduate research, I don't know if I would be here. So very thankful for that. Yes, and I record, so I have it set up that I get an email, or I can pull a list of everyone who's attended this workshop virtually. I did put my email in if you have any questions, but we will. I will be able to just track you from logging in. So not to be creepy, but I had it set up that way. Yeah, any other questions? Okay, so thank you all. Again, check the chat for our contact info. I will be emailing you. If you're not sure if I got your information, feel free to email me. And I do think like this was something that was really important to me. I know to a lot of students. So definitely encourage you to take advantage of it. I know like a lot of you are new students, so it could be like, I just got here and now I'm gonna try to do something, but you all can do it. So
Can I add one last
Yes.
thing? Even if you're just like remotely considering getting your PhD, the number one thing that graduate schools look at is experience in a research lab when considering applicants, from what I understand. So it's super important if you're planning on continuing your education. Awesome.
thank you. So I'm gonna end it now. So I'll stop.